Door, and I'll be your moderator for the day. So in the meantime, while we get to know ourselves, please can we just share our names and where we're joining in from in the chat so we get to know each other, network, and be able to build relationships from here because that's what we're all about, trying to educate, build partnerships, and foster relationships from this. So without further ado, I would get straight into our agenda for the day. So, but before we get to it, we like to establish our ground rules. So, the first thing we always talk about is please ensure that your microphones are muted and that all communications we will carry out throughout today should be done with respect. And please, once again, introduce yourselves in the chat box. Our agenda for today is first to introduce the people that are organizing this webinar series, and we get to do what we call How Well Do You Know Africa? So we get to conduct a quiz, getting to know Africa, and afterwards we introduce our guest speaker and forward to doing our questions and answers. So from what the guest speaker has spoken, we get to do a questions and answer session. Then we finally get to having our closing remarks. So the people behind this beautiful webinar series that we've been having, we've had more than 5 people coming from different countries, and surprisingly, it has been West Africa first, and then we'll proceed to other parts of Africa. So we've had people from West Africa, and the faces behind this are called Maggreen. Maggreen is an organization that is poised at empowering Africa with knowledge required to transition to clean energy and combat climate change. It is founded by 3 young women that desire to contribute and fight climate change in Africa. Our vision is to build a community and network of people that are like minded and an organization that is willing to combat climate change. Africa Webinar Series is a series that is conducted to bridge the knowledge gap between what is going on currently and what we are seeing happening in different countries. So our aim is to get to understand what other countries are doing and foster and learn from each other. Because one of the things we notice that it's a gap in Africa is we don't know what is going on. So most times we're just secluded to what is going on around us, maybe in your country, in your community, but you would not necessarily know what's in a neighboring country that can help to solve the problems which you're facing currently. So we plan to address this energy gap and knowledge gap through Maggreen webinar series, the Energy Africa Energy series. So these are the 3 faces behind Maggreen team. We have Mary Dora Kamara, who is our programs coordinator, Aisha Suleiman, who is our communications and partnership coordinator, and myself, Georgette, who is the technical coordinator. So without further ado, I will stop sharing my screen quickly and put the link in the chat box for us to get to know Africa better. Because I know that's one of the things I look forward to learning about other people's cultures, their knowledge, what they have that would inspire me to maybe visit these countries at any point in time. So you can either scan this QR code here or type in Mentimeter and use the code on the screen. But I would also put the link in the chat box. I'll share the link in the chat box. You can tap on that. Then I'll quickly share my screen so we can go over the questions and get to learn from it. Thank you, Mary Dora, joining from Sierra Leone. So please let me know if you can see my screen. You can unmute and let me know if you can see my screen. Hi, Maximilian. Nice to. Thank you for joining in. And please let me know if you can access the link I shared or you can get through to the Mentimeter so we can get to know Africa better.
Yes, I can access it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And hi, Ofe, joining from Ghana. Oh, he's joining from Dublin. Nice to meet you. Is anyone able to access the link?
Yes, I think I have, but when I go on the link, I see your screen. I don't see the question for me to vote.
Okay, let me stop and try again. Please, could you try with the new link? Let's see if it's possible. Yes, it is. Okay, great. So I can share my screen now. Let's try to open that out. Okay, I can see people are now on it, which is good. So I can see people are picking Accra. Are you sure it's not Kumasi? Okay. So I think we can proceed to the next one. And yes, the right answer is Accra, Ghana. Accra is the capital of Ghana. So the next question is, what is the official language in Ghana? Interesting. Okay, English. And yes, that's very correct. English is the official language in Ghana. And I think from research, I found out that there was a period they were also speaking Portuguese in Ghana, which was very exciting for me. And I think our speaker may be able to give us more information on that. Which of these countries do not share a border with Ghana? Togo, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso. Okay, I think today was crap. I don't know if the people here really know Africa so much or it's a good guess. But yes, Nigeria doesn't share a border with Ghana. But it's so surprising how we always fight with Ghana. And the last question is, which of these valuable resources is not abundant in Ghana? Is it gold? Is it cocoa? Is it timber? Yes, the correct answer is timber. So thank you so much for joining up and doing this with us. We are very grateful. So now I would just proceed to introducing our special guest for today, our guest speaker for today. So Abednego Brandy Opey is passionate advocate for sustainable development. He has co-led Africa's largest youth-led conference on sustainability and digital transformation. He's currently pursuing an MSc in Transition, Innovation, and Sustainability Environment at the University of Dublin as an Erasmus scholar. Before this, he was a program manager for the biggest private education endowment fund in the eastern region of Ghana. He is also a member of the UNICEF Youth Foresight Circle and an alumnus of the University of Oxford and St. Gallen Symposium's Global Leadership Challenge. I think our guest is very well vested and he has so much of experience. And I'm glad we are having him on today and he's going to give us a brief or a more detailed introduction of himself and more insight into Ghana and their journey towards net zero. Thank you very much, Ope, and over to you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Brandy.
Is it clear? Like, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, sure, great. There's just a number of people here. Okay, nice. So hi everyone, it's very good to see you today, and thank you very much for the participation. And thank you for the invitation, Maggreen team. So basically, my name is Abednego Brandy Opey, and today I'll be talking to you about Ghana's net zero journey. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, yeah. And if you cannot see my screen, let me know.
Now we can
Okay,
see
I
your
hope you
screen
can
clearly.
see.
Thank you.
Great. So basically, they was achieving their own vision, which is working towards 2070. And I think this picture is from, I didn't take it, I took it from the web, but what shows it like in there, there's a lot of natural resources. There's water bodies. If you look at the background, there's like a forest, and there's someone using the water for transport and all that. And this presents their own advantages as well as disadvantages. Because if you have a lot of natural resources, then you need to manage them properly. And this kind of ties into the last quiz we had, which said, which of these is not abundant in Ghana? And the answer was supposed to be timber. But Ghana actually has a lot of timber, if you ask me. So I was expecting there to be a fourth option, none of the above, because Ghana has a lot of timber. Yeah, except there's challenge, like when you have so much of something, then the challenge is how do you manage to sustain it, right? So there's that. And a little bit about me. So I'm studying at UCD, where I also work with To Empower Ghana. And I also was the co-lead for the Digital and Sustainability Experience, which is, as has been said earlier, it's Africa's biggest youth-led conference on digital transformation sustainability. And I'm happy to say that we're already working towards this year's edition. And we have some interesting partners, and we are the first to hear that we've been able to talk to Deloitte, and there will be an allied partner for this year. And we are closing in a couple of interesting partners as well as we go ahead. So I'm looking forward to it. And this is your official invitation to BSC. We have like a hybrid event, so you can also attend virtually as well. So now I'll be happy to hear who do we have here. I think there was an invitation for people to introduce themselves. If you don't mind going off the mic, you can just introduce yourself and just say some 3 lines or something and say something interesting about you. So we know who we have in the room. I think it's a small group, so we can do this.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much, Brandy. So my name is Georgette Udor. I am one of the co-founders of Maggreen. I am a green energy engineer and I'm currently in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Nice. Anybody else? Thank you, Georgette. Max, Are you able to talk where you are now?
Yeah, but I'm on my. I'm in a taxi, so it's not so convenient for me to talk. But I
Okay,
will
okay,
be. I
no
will try my
worries.
best.
Great, no worries. Mary.
Good afternoon. I'm actually in town. It's noisy, but I'll just go quickly. I am Mary Dora Tamara, one of the co-founders of Maggreen, and I'm currently in Sierra Leone. I'm working with ECOWAS Junior Energy and Data Experts. Yeah, and Ministry of Energy as well. So, yeah, basically, that's what I do. That's me.
Nice. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm happy to see you and thank you for coming. So basically, I always have this memo in the workshops I do. So if you see this, it's likely I did decide. So basically, so I put this joke here just to make you laugh. So if you don't laugh, it's your own problem. And it says, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because atoms make up everything. And you'll be thinking about it. So making up stuff like in the English language, if you make up everything, it's either you tell a lie. So like Max said, he's in a taxi, like you could be making it up. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm not in a taxi, you're in something else. Or you make up everything also means like you constitute it. So like you are in it. So like yeah, you are in this call. So you guys make up this call. So we will be looking at today's objective is about making up stuff, and we'll be looking at exploring Ghana's net zero strategy, and at the heart of this will be climate action. So these are like the two key things that we'll be looking at through this call, and hopefully you get to learn something and also ask some questions, and we have some key takeaways as well. And I'll be happy to hear from you. What do you know about climate change? I mean, it's a very big topic. People are working on it, different forms and different areas. If you don't mind sharing, what do you know about climate change already before coming to this call? Anybody? Or you can put this in the chat as well. Anything at all that you know about climate change. Yes.
Okay, for me, simply put, climate change is like the adverse weather conditions that we're currently experiencing, either extreme heat or extreme cold, just simply put.
Yeah. So adverse weather conditions. Yeah. I mean, as you can see from this picture I took from the BBC, you see like very dry lands, see something in the ocean, and you see like at the bottom right, there's like a lot of there's a blue and then it's getting red, which like indicates warming. Anyone wants to say something again? Okay. Yeah, so basically climate change occurs when there are adverse weather conditions. And this is not just like within like 1 day or 2 days, but it's a pattern that is happening like over long periods of time. So like that is what you look at when you're talking about climate change. And basically when we talk about climate change, they dwell more on the impact. So what is changing? What's in terms of like weather? So you have like extreme weather events, you have like droughts that happen frequently, and then other places you have flooding. So some people get too little water to grow, for example, crops. And in Europe, especially along the Mediterranean, there's a lot of water stress within this period, and people are experiencing like droughts that they've never experienced in so many years. And yesterday was World Water Day, so like it brings these issues to light about how water is essential and how climate change is changing our relationship with water. So there are droughts in places and then there are floods in places because as the glaciers melt, then the sea level rises and this also causes flooding. And flooding also happens when the rains come when you're supposed to expect them and stuff like that. So this is like a good start for our conversation because the whole idea behind net zero is also tied into climate change. So then we start with some definitions. When we talk about net zero, what are we talking about? Basically, we're talking about achieving a balance between, just give me a second. Basically, we're talking about achieving a balance. Yeah. Basically, we're talking about achieving a balance between the carbon that we emit into the atmosphere and the carbon that we remove from it. So that's basically what we are talking about when we are talking about climate change. So the carbon that we emit into the atmosphere and the carbon that we emit from it. So think about it like you have like emissions. So you have an arrow, right? And on one side you have carbon going into the atmosphere, and on the other side you have carbon being removed from the atmosphere. So like the balance occurs, and that's what net zero. So like these things they cancel each other, and that's what you see on net zero. So that's basically what we are looking at. And today we'll be discussing what Ghana is doing to achieve their own net zero. And as was said in the beginning, the government of Ghana is targeting achieving net zero by 2070. So that's like, it looks really long, but that's basically what the government of Ghana is looking at achieving. So for the government of Ghana, their target to achieving net zero is in 2070. And 2070 is like, well, how many years away? We are in already 2024. So then we are looking at some 46 years away. So that's how far. So like, so the government of Ghana is looking at achieving net zero in like 4 decades plus. Some countries like, and this is not so far. If you look at countries like India and China, they are also looking at around that same period, like 2060, 2070. And the UK is looking at 2050. And they also recently relaxed their 2030 targets by 5 years, citing economic discretion. So every country has different levels of achieving their own net zero target. And for most countries in Africa, including Ghana, they view like their own emissions as negligible. So then they give themselves this long period of time to achieve net zero, because net zero means you need to take some drastic measures, as you will see um, in the next slides. So in what way the government of Ghana looking at doing this? They basically have like 7 main areas that they are looking at. And the first thing that they're looking at doing is increasing renewable energy penetration. At the moment, renewable energy penetration in Ghana is less than 5%, it's barely 2%, so it's around 1% thereabouts. And so the government of Ghana is really focusing on increasing renewable energy penetration. And if you look at Ghana now, in terms of energy, 33% of the national grid is supplied through hydropower, and this is the Kosomo Dam. And this is also becoming not so reliable because, for example, I remember in one year there were floods. No, not floods. There was a drought in Burkina Faso and in the northern Ghana, which is where the Volta River takes its source from. And because of this, there was load shedding because there was not enough water in the dam to power the turbines. So like relying on hydropower is like you being at risk of climate events. So then that makes you like susceptible to climate events. So the government is looking at diversifying to renewable energy as well. And I mean, other forms of renewable energy. And also in terms of hydropower, I think recently at Kosomo Dam, there was flooding because there was too much water from Burkina Faso, which is like where the dam gets its source from. So they had to release water and it caused flooding for communities downstream. So the first one, yes, I mentioned already, is increasing renewable energy penetration. And the second one is converting thermal energy plants to natural gas. And then the government is looking at adding nuclear as the base load. And also, number four, the government is looking at carbon capture, utilization, and storage systems. And then you look at green hydrogen, electric cars, and also clean cooking. So these are like the 17 that the government of Ghana is really looking at in terms of their long-term strategy to achieving net zero. I can comment on electric cars because recently the government of Ghana introduced levies to target carbon emissions for people using diesel fuel. I mean, the acceptance has not been great, but that's what the government of Ghana is doing. to make people move towards electric cars. And so now we look at, so what do they want to achieve? What does the government of Ghana want to achieve by 2030? So by 2030, we'll be looking at 60% use of LPG by 2030. And this is significant because then you have people not like people moving towards much more clean cooking instead of burning wood fuel, which usually is associated with deforestation and then also even health issues because when people cook with stuff like, for example, firewood, then it affects their lungs, and this is an issue that affects mostly women. So if 60% of the people are using liquefied petroleum gas, which is a version of clean cooking, then that's not just great for the environment, but then also for the people themselves, because it has like health benefits. And the government is looking at implementing a cylinder recirculation model. And basically this means that, for example, now in Ghana, if you go to fill your gas, like if you go to get extra gas, you need to take your own cylinder to a gas filling station and then you get the same cylinder back to your house. Right? What they are looking at is that putting cylinders in a pool, and then people can just take from this pool as and when they need gas for their homes. So I think that's what the government of Ghana is looking at. And in terms of point three, terminating gas flaring, when Ghana discovered oil in 2007 and recently going to like producing commercial quantities. There was gas flaring because they had like gas, which is like a byproduct of the petroleum industry. So the government is looking at terminating this gas flaring by 2030. And the government therefore setting up a lot of infrastructure like the tiable gas processing plants to process this gas for like domestic use and also industrial use. So they're looking at terminating gas flaring by 2030 and then ensuring all household appliances are best in class. And then also by 2020, the government of Ghana is looking at using compressed natural gas for internal combustion engines and trains. And then also looking at 10% renewable energy, electricity generation, and 10% ethanol blend in petroleum. Yeah, and back to the renewable energy conversion again. 10% will look like really small, but now you are at 1%. So then moving to 10% by 2020 is like a big jump. So that's basically in terms of the energy mix and what the government is looking at. They are looking at getting to 10% renewable energy by 2030, and this will be like 10 times leap of what we currently have now, where the renewable energy is just like 1%. And then by 2040, it's like 16 years from now, the government is looking at scaling nuclear power. Ghana is, I'm aware Ghana is currently in conversations with a lot of partners to get a nuclear energy in place. There is already a Ghana Atomic Energy Commission that has already been working on making sure Ghana moves to nuclear. So it's part of the government of Ghana strategy that by 2040 they have a nuclear plant on stream, and then it's part of the nation's base of energy, and then also employing carbon capture utilization and storage systems. So the government is looking at capturing carbon in Ghana and then storing it for something else. So basically, this has to be done in 16 years and make it come on stream as well. And in terms of aviation, the government is looking at phasing out aviation kerosene and fossil fuels in favor of biofuels. And the guys like aviation hub because currently there was the coming on stream of the Terminal 3, which means that a lot of traffic to West Africa passes through Ghana. So if this comes on stream, this could have a cumulative effect as well for the aviation industry in West Africa because Ghana is more or less like a hub for aviation and you have a lot of flights coming into Ghana. So by 2040, the government target is that all these flights coming into Ghana will be using biofuels instead of the current aviation kerosene. And what you also realize is that within this period, there's a lot of legislation in terms of sustainability and fuels, like for example, the EU and other places in terms of sustainable transportation. So I believe by 2040, the aviation industry should be ready. Because if you look at Europe, much of these targets are for 2030 anyway. So then by 2040, if Ghana implement their vision, that we should be ready to go. And then by 2050, was the government looking at that over 50% of urban households should be using electric stoves and solar heating systems, and then 70% of vehicles will run on electricity and hydrogen. So that's what the government is achieving by 2050. And like I said, especially for example for vehicles running on electricity and hydrogen, now like electric vehicles are becoming more or less mainstream in places like EU and other places, and like sales are picking up rapidly. So then I believe by 2050, which seems like a long time from Ghana, from this period, I mean, the aviation industry should be ready. And it's also worthy of note as Ghana is becoming like to make a hub for vehicle makers. So you have like people like Volkswagen, Nissan, and a couple of others coming to establish vehicle manufacturing plants in Ghana. So it'll be interesting to see how this policy ties into the government's plan for making Ghana a hub for vehicle making. So this is for 2015. It definitely looks like it's really long term from now. But then what this also does is that it puts in place a framework for people to operate. So, for example, if you are setting up a vehicle making factory in Ghana, and you know the government of Ghana is looking at making sure that 70% by 2050, then it's also reflecting your strategy for what you want to do. So these are the government's commitments. And then you as a vehicle maker or you as an investor, you also tie into it as well. And then for also like in terms of like renewable energy, if you know that the government of Ghana is aiming at 10% renewable electricity by 2030, then like you as an entrepreneur, you're looking at how can I play into this field, and that makes it interesting. And what is the government of Ghana looking at? So like by 2017, the government is looking at having 70% of rural households relying on LPG, which is like the liquefied petroleum gas. And like I said it earlier, there's a version of clean cooking, which is great for not just the environment, but then for people as well, because clean cooking has a health component and also has an environmental component as well. And we're also looking at road and rail vehicles being powered by electricity and hydrogen. We already mentioned here the government is looking at 70% of vehicles running on electricity and hydrogen by 2050. So by 2070, they're expecting road and rail vehicles to be powered by electricity and hydrogen. And then they're looking at 20% of electricity generation capacity being renewable. So there's like a very long-term aspiration for 2017, which, like I said, is like 6 years from now. And if you look at 20% of electric generation being renewable, currently the government is doing a lot of work. They currently put together Africa's biggest floating solar power system, and this is at the by the Bui Power Authority. I didn't have that in my slides, but I can put that in the chat. So they have like Africa's biggest floating solar power system, which has been built by the Power Authority. And so like the government is rapidly looking at in what ways can the government that like can energy generation be much more renewable, and in what way can we be green. So already the government is trying to their net zero strategies, environmental protection, and also taking action for the environment. And yeah, so if you look at this, this is what the government of Ghana is looking at between now and 2017. And these are the targets that are being taken. And the government is very big on energy, because what you notice in Ghana is that Ghana has very good energy connectivity in terms of access to electricity. It's more than 85% and it's among the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. So the government's commitment to energy is really good. And so they are trying many ways to work this out and make sure the emissions from energy are also reduced as well. Um, yeah, and also what's in terms of financing and partnerships, these commitments are going to need $500 billion, and that's really huge. And so the government is working with agencies like the UN Sustainable Energy for All to develop a framework in which is like an investment plan. And basically the plan is that if you have great target, if you have a great plan and there is no financing, then all the plans will fall flat on their face. So then financing is very important. So that financing, these things are not going to be done, especially for a country like Ghana that is like currently in an IMF program and with record inflation recorded recently and economic challenges, then usually when these things happen, climate commitments tend to take the back burner. For example, as we observe in the UK, the government is relaxing their net zero commitments and their 2030 commitment by 5 years, citing economic discretion. So then financing is really important for these net zero targets. And the government of Ghana's budget is $500 billion. And this is a partnership that the government has set in place to make this work. And you may be thinking, what's okay? So when this happen, what kind of benefits will the country stand to gain? You're looking at GDP contribution. I think that if the government is able to go ahead with these targets, then you're looking at significant contribution to the country's GDP. You're looking at green jobs. You're looking at energy from renewable energy. I mean, Ghana sits on a very good supply of, for example, solar energy. So apart from the one they've built by the British Authority, if we already have like excess power being generated from renewable sources, we can export it. So that also gives you extra contribution to your GDP. And then also job creation. I already mentioned green jobs. And then there's funding for renewable and clean energy. So if this 500 billion is secured, then this will go into this. And then you have cheaper energy and also energy security. Like I already mentioned, Ghana has very good access to electricity, more than 85%. So if you go into renewable sources, then we can even go further. We can provide like upgrade communities much more options, including like renewable energy. And then we are also looking at social impact on gender education and health. I mean, if you're able to bring on board stuff like clean cooking, then you are working towards making sure that women who usually do most of the cooking and bear the burden of unclean cooking and the emissions that come from unclean fuels, they are not going to be put in harm's way because they just have to cook. So basically, these are some potential that are being anticipated from these targets and also from the funding that's supposed to come again. Yes, so I have been talking for a bit of time. I'll be happy to hear from you what you learned today. Also, if you have any question, I'll be happy to take them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brandy, for this very well detailed presentation. It was actually learned a lot of things. I took note about some things, and also I think I have one or two questions for you. So I think my first question will be targeted towards the solar, saying solar, the green hydrogen you spoke about, because about two or three speakers in a row have spoken about green hydrogen. But the question is Africa ready for that? It's one thing for us to transition into cleaner energies, being the fact that we mostly have oil as a major source of energy, oil and gas in Africa. So now, are we trying to close the door towards that and just switch to green hydrogen? I see that at least Ghana was saying nuclear and carbon capture before they added green hydrogen. So are these three going to be all done at once, or
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I will not say the government will abandon, for example, um, what do you call it, or like it's fossil fuel deficit and shift straight towards green hydrogen or even renewable energy. Because if you look at the government's renewable energy goals, for example, I think in 2010, the government was looking at 10% by 2020, and this was not possible. So now we have like this 10%. Now the target is 10% by 2030. So I think, and also as I mentioned earlier, usually you have like an economic situation, and for developing countries, they usually are looking at their economies, try and save their economies first. And what you also realize is that Africa as a whole, Africa's contribution to like global emissions is barely 5%. So then policymakers in Africa and Ghana also feel like, yeah, we don't even contribute majority to these greenhouse global emissions, so we should not be taking drastic measures like abandoning our fossil fuels to move towards green hydrogen. So I believe that it will really depend on what kind of investments are made in that space and what kind of partnerships are made in that space. For example, if you look at Namibia, Namibia seems to have like a significant hydrogen project going on with the government of Germany. But then in Ghana, there's really nothing significant going on in terms of hydrogen. There's really no like project you can point to as of yet. I mean, there could be other things happening in the background, like negotiations and stuff, but nothing major has come on stream as can be said for Namibia. So you see the government trying to balance, find a balance between economic development, energy access, and abandoning like legacy resources like fossil fuels. I will not say that will be now, but definitely sometime in the future.
DSC at the beginning of your presentation, but would like
Yes.
to know more information about DSC.
Yes, great. So DST is the Digital Sustainability Experience, and we usually have it in the middle of the year. So last year we had a reach of 2,200 people, and basically the target of DST is to promote climate literacy among young people in Africa and in developing countries. Particularly last year, our focus was Ghana, but this year we are going Africa. And the idea behind it is that you realize that for many young people in Africa, they don't really get to hear about climate change and don't get the right information. And this was confirmed in a recent report by UNICEF that mentioned that people in developing countries, young people in developing countries, are much more likely to not know the correct definition of climate change. So that's what we do with DSE. And we try to look at, okay, sustainability and digital transformation. How can these two things bring sustainable development? So that's what we do with DSE.
Like,
Last year, we had speakers from the World Bank, International Finance Corporation, and also we did a session in the University of Oxford. That was the Oxford Character Project. And then we had people coming from the government as well. This year, we are looking at really doing more, and yeah, we are closing a couple of partnerships as well, just to make it a very good event. And we are looking at reaching young people across Africa, so we have like a hybrid event. So even if you're not able to travel to Ghana or Kumasi where the event is, you'll still be able to join sessions. So we are already working with the Students Representative Council or the Students Union of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We're talking to Deloitte and we're talking to a couple of other people as well. See how we can work together to make this a very good and big event. Yeah.
thank you so much. That sounds really interesting. sounds like something everybody should be looking forward to. But maybe,
Exactly.
oh, okay. So yeah, that's something we look forward to. Does any other person have any questions before we proceed? Okay. In the absence of any questions, I would like to say a very big thank you to you, Brandy, for this. And we would reach out if we need any further information and other things, maybe also about DSC and other future purposes. But thank you so much for giving us a huge breakdown. I've gotten to learn more about the Ghana energy status and their goals towards net zero. And I'm really happy at the fact that it took time to break it in bits. So we have for 2030, 2050, 60 down to 70, which is the planned or hopeful point where we meet our net zero point. But we're really grateful for this opportunity and thank you for everyone that joined. And although some people had to take permission to drop off along the line, but we're really grateful for such an insightful thing and would also share the links to our colleagues to also have time to watch it. So I'm really grateful for this. And for the next steps, we will just ask others to share, like, and also build more partnerships. Let's get to talk more about this and spread the word about Maggreen and what we're currently doing. Without further ado, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, P, once again for a wonderful and insightful presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure meeting everyone, and I'm looking forward to collaborating again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.
All right, bye-bye.